guns, and I'm going to be accused of being dramatic. We have a serious, serious problem in this country because this is common sense and reason. I saw some of you there yesterday. You didn't have guns and fake IDs. I don't know how else to explain it.
Clearly painting a narrative there. The sheriff Chad Bianco painting a narrative there. And I watched that and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they tried to do it again. And then the suspect's name dropped. And I quickly realized, oh, he's a giant Trump supporter. Oh, by the way, he follows me on Instagram. There's something that doesn't add up. And of course, it didn't. And I want to welcome to the show Vem Miller, the man who, of course, was accused of showing up at Coachella to kill Donald Trump. That's actually not what happened, is it, Vem?
No, not at all. No.
So I want to talk to you about just what's taken place since then. But I want you to first clear the air on what he just accused you of. How he said you had multiple passports with different names, an unregistered vehicle, a fake license plate. Can you set the record straight on that?
Yeah, so, a lot of the things that he's referring to in terms of, he actually mentioned, I jotted down some notes here. He was talking about fake IDs. He actually said none of those are fake IDs. If I had fake passports or fake IDs, that's actually a crime. And at the end of all of this, I wasn't cited for any of the things that he mentioned. So in terms of law, there's a conjecture and emotion has to be left out of it, right? So the sheriff's job, the job of police officers is really two categories. It's either unlawful or it's lawful. It can't be anything else. That's what they got to decipher, right? And in this, if it's unlawful, it should appear on documents. It should appear on citations. If it's lawful, then it doesn't appear on documents and citations. And I have my citation right here. It says nothing about, fake IDs, counterfeit passports. It says nothing about, fake license plates. Therefore, if it didn't appear on that, then obviously what I was doing was not unlawful.
Right. And so you say, which, by the way, I completely believe you. It makes a whole lot of sense. You were telling them, hey, I showed up. I've got VIP credentials. I do have loaded weapons in the back of my car, which, by the way, them in California, you got to know, they're not going to like that. But you didn't have any ill intentions. You basically self-reported because you were trying to prove that you were not there to cause a problem, correct?
Yeah, not only to prove, when I ran for office in 2022 as a Republican candidate, I started forming relationships with a lot of police officers and, just being respectful. And at other Trump rallies where I've been to, I simply tell them most of these were obviously in Nevada, different culture. I didn't really realize the implications of that leading up to this event. I certainly understand now the difference between California and Nevada when it comes to gun rights. I just report to them. They usually say, just leave it in your car. And it's also important to distinguish what is a Trump rally and what is the parking lot to the Trump rally. So intentionally so, these parking lots are not close to the actual rally area, the perimeter. And the reason for that is one of the methods of assassination is car bombs, like a Timothy McVeigh style thing. So in my experiences, Trump rallies minimum seem to have a quarter of a mile distance. And then in the case of this particular rally, I eyed this while I was wheeled out in a police car. So I'm approximating at least half a mile, and I'm probably kind of downplaying that because it's impossible for me to tell. But whatever it is, it's a distance enough where these are two separate locations. So this idea that I was going into a Trump rally with guns is actually not true. I was going into a parking lot and then walking anywhere between a quarter of a mile to get to the actual rally perimeter.
Yeah. So you say, and I watched your video that you put out on social media, and you say that this arresting officer was verbally making statements that were very anti-Donald Trump. Do you think that this is why he treated you like this? Do you think that this is where this narrative came from to basically, defame you? Is that what we're thinking? Because I'm looking at the sheriff that's going up there and giving this press conference. And I do know that he does seem to be a Republican. He does seem to be a Trump supporter. And it just seems strange why they would be tarnishing your name and your reputation if you are also a Trump supporter. So tell me what your gut feeling is about this particular arresting officer. And then I want to get into what has happened since then.
So the arresting officer and the sheriff are two different individuals. The arresting officer, essentially, like has been reported, I overheard him saying derogatory remarks, and then that the completely different person. He was saying derogatory remarks about Trump.
Okay, yeah, tell me what those were.
Maggots and stupid Trump people.
Okay, go ahead.
And I highly doubt he had his body cam on while he was saying that. And he said it to a female officer. And I'm sure once we FOIA all this stuff, we'll find out a little bit more. We've identified, I think, amongst my friends, legal team, and it's been amazing because there's been a lot of supporters that have come forward and offered to help. There's four potential different reasons I think that this occurred. One could be the officer that arrested me and his political beliefs and simply wanting to put a Trump fan into a torturous experience. The second thing is this sheriff has governor aspirations, and I think should this have actually been true, I mean, he would have won in a landslide, if he had stopped an actual Trump assassin. So I think there's a little bit of that. A lot of, being in politics, I know there's political consultants that come from a place of emotion and media spotlight. What's also important to report about this particular sheriff is that in 2020, he was seen kneeling at BLM riots after saying that he was part of the Oath Keepers. And this had happened before, right? So what I'm noticing about this particular sheriff is this issue of wishy-washy individuals that don't, kind of are going more with almost slaves to the media and doing what the media wants to be told, to what it wants to tell them to do. And I think that was potentially a part of it. It's very hard to know, what's inside somebody's mind. It's very hard to know what a conspiracy is and what the truth of it is without knowing facts. So that's why we came up with a list of 4 potential reasons why this is all occurring.
So you obtained representation. You have an attorney, and so have you filed a lawsuit?
It's in the process of being filed, but this attorney, definitely passionate, definitely freedom fighter, definitely a constitutionalist, very prominent. I won't say who it is until it is more formally announced. But what we're finding is, as this individual was doing a lot of research, there's something called patterns and practices, and what that is if a person's patterns and practices indicate corruption, right? Indicate that they don't care about the law, indicate that they're not operating within the law, but they're operating within what is the color of law, which is basically another way of saying doing criminal things, but using your position in order to conceal those criminal things. And what we found is very recently there was a $7.5 million judgment, or I believe it might have been a settlement, that I'm not sure on, against this particular sheriff and the department. Wow. There's been patterns and practices of his deputies and officers under him not being well trained. There's a long trail of corruption. The way this individual, who is a very astute attorney, described some of the things that were being discovered by this individual. I'm trying to not give away the sex and keep it concealed for now of this individual. There's quite a lot. I mean, there's a lot. She's like, I can't believe this guy is actually not being prosecuted himself because his behavior, his corruption, the incompetence of his police department. There was insinuations of bribery in order to conceal bad behavior. I mean, there's just so much nasty stuff about this individual, apparently, that it just shows patterns and practices. And that would indicate, when you have something called evidentiary thresholds for criminal behavior and civil misdemeanors, and an astute sheriff would have evidence before they go around saying things like, this man showed up and verbally said, I want to X, Y, and Z. To say it here because I don't want some, leftist, media operation catching me saying
Clip
that
it.
sentence,
Right.
which never would come out of my mouth. But yeah, there's a repeated issue of bad behavior here.
I mean, how pissed were you when you had to go? You're detained, you go through all of this, you're booked, you're finally released, and then you find out, I guess, that the whole world thinks that you were there to try to kill Donald Trump.
Pissed is not an emotion that I do because being a documentary filmmaker and investigative journalist, like those kind of high and low emotions have they're not part of me, I wouldn't say I was pissed. I would say that initially when they took it seriously, I was actually happy that Donald Trump had actual adequate protection, because I remember early on, prior to the first assassination attempt, I've actually had individuals in my world that I've known that have had guns in their pockets at Trump rallies, right? So the security obviously was awful prior to the first assassination. So I was actually, happy that they're doing their job. It's when it seemed this is not about doing their job. It was really about operating under the color of law and using your power for criminal behavior that then I started becoming, I would say, pissed, or not pissed, not enraged, but more like the savage came out of me. And I know a lot about law. I know a lot about, because just simply by virtue of studying law and doing documentaries and tons of podcasts and interviewing people and just having walked certain blocks in my life, let's say, that's when all the deprivation of rights, language, operating on the color of law, all that stuff started coming out of my mouth. They denied me a phone call to my attorney. I never got a phone call. I was very vocal about that. The surveillance from the police department will reflect that. At one point, I got up and I told him that, you're going to lose your badge. You're just cost your department millions of dollars. And and the other officers that were overhearing this, there is something called the blue wall of silence, which certainly was going on inside that police department. And I told them, guys, don't go down with this guy. These surveillance, cameras are going to expose that I'm not even getting my one phone call. And they're going to wonder why all of you guys teamed up against me to deprive me of that most basic right.
Yeah, you're right. So I want to ask you about one more thing here. This obviously was happening in California, but you say that Las Vegas Police Department showed up at your home this week?
Yeah. My home where my parents are staying, and they're elderly. They're 83 and 77 years old. My dad has a lot of health problems. He's had, unfortunately, 10 heart attacks, 3 strokes, high blood pressure, diabetes. It's a miracle that he's even alive. And they come on the property. They don't have a warrant. They're shining flashlights. They're in pretty much military style gear. They were the terrorism unit. And so my mom, who's familiar with a good friend of mine, Steve Sanson, who runs an organization called Veterans in Politics, and who's been very active in fighting corruption, remove judges, remove bad lawyers from their position, remove bad politicians from their position, arrives to the rescue, finds out that they don't have a warrant. Then they start threatening him, saying that you're obstructing justice, where there is no obstructing justice because you don't even have a warrant to be there. So Steve knows this. He lets it be known. Steve is also friends with Kevin McMahill, the sheriff of Clark County. He contacts Sheriff McMahill. Sheriff McMahill says that he is not in town. I think he might be on holiday. And at that point, Sheriff McMahill says, I had no knowledge of this. He's going to launch an investigation. I promise you that those police officers will no longer bother, will no longer come back to this location, is what was said. And so that's pretty much the latest. Yeah.
Wow. So I do have to ask, this is obviously going to cost money. Do you have any sort of fundraising, website or anything up yet that people can go and help with your legal fees? Because when this ends, when this is all said and done, you need to be quite a bit richer from the Riverside County Sheriff's Office.
There is a way to donate. And it's funny, I haven't even thought about this thus far, because I've been really trying to correct the story of what happened.
Sure.
Internationally, I'm known as an assassin or potential assassin now. So, we do on our website, if you go to americahappens.com, there is a documentary called Bundy versus Deep State. It's the first documentary on the website. If you scroll down, there's actually a fundraising mechanism for that Bundy versus Deep State documentary. Well, the documentary was already made, and the documentary will explain why we had to expedite it and just get it out on a dime, basically. But that GoFundMe page, or Give Send Go, actually, I should say, whatever is donated there is going to be going towards this legal battle that is coming, and furthermore, it's going to be help us make more content. My partner Mindy Robinson, we've been known to release very compelling exposés and documentaries and do it on a dime. Mindy made her Route 91 documentary, which has over 100 million million views literally on our cell phone. So we've been known to do things on a dime, and this is what that money is going to go towards.
Wow. Well, I am so sorry for them tarnishing your name and your reputation. And it's just disgusting what they did to you. I hope that you get millions of dollars out of this sheriff's office. And I appreciate you joining me to set the record straight, Vem.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I really appreciate you calling me on.
And keep me posted on it, okay?
I will for sure, yeah.
All right. Thank you. Talk soon.
All right, talk soon.
That is Vem Miller. You can find him. I can't speak at not Vem Miller. It says not Vem Miller, but it's actually him. So go follow him on the platform formerly known as X. It's just crazy. You're going to tarnish a guy's reputation because you think that it makes you look like the hero? Or you're going to tarnish a guy's reputation because he's a mean, nasty Trump supporter? I mean, that's disgusting. All right, we've got to take a quick break. We will be back with the panel. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Preborn. So Preborn, let's jump in the time machine and go all the way back to the Democrat convention where they offered free abortions in buses. They had a little abortion bus right outside. You just had to walk down the steps right outside, right in the parking lot. Hey, come kill your baby in here for free. For free! Can you believe how disgusting that party has become? I am so proud to partner with Preborn because Preborn they have an amazing ministry where they are helping young expectant mothers who are sold lies by the left. They're sold lies by the left that this is just a tiny little microscopic parasite in them, that it's not actually a baby and it's just a clump of cells and you won't regret a thing, okay? Just come in here in the bus. We'll do it for free and you're not going to regret a thing. They're selling them lies, but what Preborn does is they invite these women into their network of clinics and they show these women the truth. This is a baby inside of you. This is your baby and you have been called to be this baby's mother. And by the way, you can do it, okay? They also help these mothers up until the baby's age of 2. They help them financially as well. So they are there for these women, changing these babies' lives, changing these mothers' lives. And I would just ask, if you guys feel so led, if you could donate any amount. I believe it's $28 for the cost of an ultrasound. And that's what it's all about, showing these babies, showing these moms the ultrasound. So $28 is the cost of an ultrasound. And chances are you're going to save that baby's life. How many babies' lives can you save? You can go to preborn.com/Sarah. Donate securely over at preborn.com/Sarah. Welcome to the show. We have BlazeTV contributors Jaco Booyens, of course, host of The Bottom Line, founder of JBM, Jaco Booyens Ministries, along with Eric July, also the founder of Rippaverse Comics, which you guys need to go check out. Glad you guys are here. The band is back together again.
You know it. I love it.
So you remember when the mainstream media and all these fact-checking outlets pounced on Donald Trump. I use that word intentionally. Pounced on Donald Trump's talking about usage of the, Venezuelan gangs are taking over apartment complexes. And we've been talking about this because there's been kind of a string of whoops, it turns out that Donald Trump was right again. And yesterday we talked about Martha Raddatz confronting J.D. Vance and saying, well, there's only a handful. Yeah. There's only a handful. It's just a handful of invasions. It's just a handful of apartment complexes around the country that Venezuelan gangs are taking over. And so I talked about, the next step, of course, is, well, yeah, it's happening, but here's why it's good, right? And so now we're seeing, after Donald Trump was hammered for saying Venezuelan gangs are taking over apartment complexes, after the mainstream media crushed him on this, Donald Trump's repeating false debunked narratives about Venezuelan gangs. Oh, Donald Trump is racist. He just thinks that brown people are mean. Oh, well, how about the truth, which is the apartment management company, CBZ Management, began managing Aurora, Colorado apartments in 2019. Well, now we find out that they were managing them, they were trying to renovate them, and then the gangs arrived. And there was a rise in crime and tenant complaints. And this is, by the way, this is all verified by this particular management company. They tweeted out this whole thread, posting receipts. And they said that one of their representatives was attacked at the end of 2023 by one of these Venezuelan gang members. And I want to play some of that from the security camera. Watch. So there you can see them just beating the crap out of him. He was trying to inspect a vacated apartment and discovered a group of men inside. Now, they did offer him a $500 bribe, and he refused, at which point you saw what happened there. So there's him bloodied after this attack. And after that, he started getting threatening text messages, and they kept finding all of these illegal people who were in these, basically they were squatting, right? And, it's just interesting because we're hearing the mainstream media tell you, no, that thing isn't happening. And yet all we see is evidence that it is, in fact, happening. In fact, they released a statement, this management company, saying gangs have taken control of several of our properties in Aurora, Colorado. In an attempt to discredit this fact for political purposes and avoid governmental accountability, some have spread false information about our situation. Let's set the record straight. When confronted, many of these illegal tenants and squatters claimed they had paid rent, which was true, but not to us. They were paying rent to the gang. City officials were contacted, but no one helped. Finally, APD, FBI, and Homeland Security informed CBZ, the management company, that those controlling the apartments were indeed Tren de Aragua. They knew. They knew the whole time.
Yeah.
The whole time they knew. All of these agencies knew. And they were the ones who said, actually, that's this Venezuelan gang. And still, you have a mainstream media who just lies to your faces every single day. And now that we are officially in early voting, I just think that we need to, as much as we can, as often as possible, remind people that the mainstream media is the enemy of the people. You are not going to find the truth of the matter there. And they're going to tell you, don't believe your lying eyes. It's happening, guys. It's happening in America. In Kamala Harris's America, there are Venezuelan gangs taking over apartment complexes. This is a fact. This is not a rumor. This is a fact. Okay, I want to play for you guys. I want to get your thoughts here, but I want to play for you guys. Let's first watch Cindy Romero, who had to flee her apartment. Let's watch the footage of the gunman outside of her front door that went viral. So if you guys recall, this was, of course, the video that started it all.
Yeah.
And they're like, you don't have any proof that that's a Venezuelan gang. You're just saying that because their skin is brown and you're xenophobic. Well, she actually spoke at the Trump campaign event in Aurora over the weekend. And I want to just play for you. This is not my opinion. This is her account of what happened. Watch.
We were run out of our home after 4 years. The loud music, the destruction, the gunshots, the crime. We were being overran. The police are overwhelmed. I was alone. And Aurora police and the governor refused to even admit that there is a problem. We all know there's a problem, right? You can feel that there's a problem. As a lifetime Democrat, this experience has opened my eyes, and we've got to make a change. We've got to. I'm voting for Trump.
And now you've just heard the beginning of the utterance of this is why it's good, with Bill Clinton yesterday coming out and saying, yeah, Laken Riley would be alive today if we had properly vetted these people. But listen, Americans aren't reproducing at the rates that they need to. And so we need new population in here. Did you see this clip?
Yeah.
I mean, unbelievable. So that is, of course, the first step into, Venezuelan gangs are taking over apartment complexes, but this is why it's good. Hear them out, guys. We need more people committing crimes, I guess, in this country.
We need more people that hate Americans while we kill the actual Americans born by American mothers in the womb.
Right.
So let's say that there's not a high enough birth rate because we're killing them in a genocidal eugenics program, particularly black babies. Disproportionately black babies to import brown people who hate this country. But it's not a big problem, Sarah, because it's only 10 million that has crossed the border. It's only a few apartment complexes. What is 10 million and 360 million? It's not a big deal.
Which, by the way, it's been 10 million for how many decades now?
Yeah, exactly, right? And what they tell you, it's 10 million just under Joe Biden in 4 years. It was probably 60 million, right?
Yeah, I think that number is way low.
It's way low. But here's what they're telling you. The life value of American citizen is zero to them. Zero. If it's a Venezuelan gang that comes in and displaces an American citizen, kills him, Laken Riley kills him, no harm, no foul. Just a few. Right? The end justifies the means to these people.
Yeah, you're right, Eric.
Well, especially right now, and that's the thing that sucks. I mean, you're probably not going to find a solution, or there's going to be no true incentive to find one, because it's not going to be politically expedient. And that's often what happens here, right? And that's the real problem, is that people are putting in their politics and who may look good or who may look bad over actually serving and protecting, or whatever you want to say that they are doing. I'll make the argument that, yeah, it is a fundamental problem that you have people that are coming from an entirely different country, taking stuff over, and it seems like they're going basically unopposed. The problem can also be said if it wasn't. You know what I mean? It's to the person that is getting screwed over, it's the same. I can go over down the street to South Dallas right now where I was born and raised, right? It's some cats running the spot, right? And making it uncomfortable for people that have been living there for often their entire lives, right? And it sucks. I say that as a person that grew up in that environment. It sucks, man. It really does. One of the guys that used to, unfortunately, maybe terrorize his own freaking community was there doing that stuff. It's not a fun place to be. The thing that sucks is that, if tomorrow, if they wanted to solve these problems, they could.
In a minute.
They could, right?
Yeah.
And then, again, the context, I think we talked about this last week. I think the context is especially important when talking about this, when you see the amount of money that is being funneled to foreign countries to deal with their problems, right?
Yep.
And then you have people that have signed up to, for various military services, and they're overseas fixing other people's problems. When you got people being terrorized in their own freaking communities, to me, it just sounds a lot more conducive to, the freedom of American people. If you are to have this military that is going to be subsidized or largely ran by the government, maybe they should be protecting the people that are in this geographical area. So instead of sending someone to, Afghanistan, or someone to somewhere in the Middle East, or all that, maybe it makes a little more sense to send someone to, a group, maybe 5 of them. Maybe they don't even take that many. Go to a rural, fix the problem in the way that you know how to fix the problem, and then go about your business. That, to me, I think a lot of people, no matter where you were on the political spectrum, would at least be on board with solving those problems. So I think the American people, as they go and vote, because we are in early voting season here, should take that stuff into consideration. Believe me, if the government, and I'm not saying that in a vague sense, I'm just saying in general, not even in general, whether you speak about your local government, whether you speak about your state government, whether you speak about the federal government, if they wanted to solve these problems, they would solve these problems. Now, why don't they? Right. And that could be a subject.
It's the lack of political will. They don't want to.
Well, right, because then that means they are not as powerful.
Exactly.
So,
look, I know we gotta go here in a little bit, but this also, it's a chain, right? The politicians obviously fall right. They're part of this problem, right? Because if the problem does get resolved, what do they have to run on?
Right, exactly. Yeah. They can't campaign on it anymore if they solve the problem. You're not going to give them your money. Of course, I stopped doing that a really long time ago. All right, let's go ahead and take a quick break, and then we'll be back with more. I want to thank our sponsor of this segment, Jace Medical. So we talk about emergency food all the freaking time, but let's talk about emergency medicine, because you may not realize medicine, life-saving medications is actually really important in times of crisis. I'm sure the people who are suffering from, Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton are realizing this right about now. Not only do you need the emergency food, but what if you need a life-saving antibiotic and you don't have it? That is why Jace Medical has the Jace case. So it contains 5 essential antibiotics that are there for emergency use. And if you need it, it's there. If you don't, great. But the point is to be prepared. You can also add on customization options, ivermectin, EpiPens, whatever you need to fit your family's needs. But just make sure that you get it so that it's there in case you need it. You can go to jase.com, check them out. You can use promo code Sarah at checkout for a discount on your order. That is Jace Medical. It's jase.com, promo code Sarah. Well, speaking of being the enemy of the people, which of course is legacy media, but also Kamala HQ account on Twitter. just constantly posting blatant lies about Donald Trump. Here's the latest one. I'm sure you guys saw it. They said Trump appears lost, confused, and frozen on stage as multiple songs play for 30 plus minutes and the crowd pours out of the venue early. And then, of course, they attached a video of Donald Trump from a recent rally yesterday. And so let's go ahead. Let's play this, and then I'll give you the rest of the story. Watch.
Well, sir, do you want to play your song and then greet a few people, or do you want to?
This is in Pennsylvania, by the way.
Well, you had said you wanted to close with a specific song.
Now, we're not playing that song because we could get hit for copyright, but they're playing the song at the rally, and you see Donald Trump standing there. And that is what they say. Oh, he appears lost, confused, and frozen on stage as multiple songs play. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, that's actually not the full story. And I want to play, in probably an accidental moment of journalism, I want to play ABC, I guess, accidentally debunking this particular narrative. Watch.
Town hall event in Pennsylvania took an unusual turn after he was interrupted twice by medical emergencies in the room. Trump stopped taking questions and stood on stage for nearly 45 minutes listening to his soundtrack. The crowd slowly dispersed, but many stayed for what became an impromptu indoor concert.
But then, 30 minutes in, 2 attendees suffered medical emergencies.
A doctor, please. Doctor.
The incidents shifted the mood, prompting Trump to cut the questions short and instead play some of his favorite music.
How about this? We'll play YMCA and we'll go home.
Trump kept DJing, and most of his supporters stayed for another 30 minutes.
So he wasn't lost. He was standing there. They decided to play music because he thought that it would be rude and inappropriate of him to continue taking questions at a town hall while there were 2 medical emergencies. That's actually the rest of the story. Kamala, Cammy. I mean, these people are just disgusting.
Can we call her Karen Kamala?
We can call her whatever you want.
We call her cackling, lying,
Kamala,
deceiving,
Commie Kamala.
Low life.
I mean, this woman actually, from her Twitter account, she reposted it and said, "Hope he's okay."
Well, they try. Well, they
first of all, no, you don't.
Yeah, but it's all over. They're trying really hard to push the narrative that there may be something wrong with him. This guy is firing on all cylinders. He's like an old V12 F1 race car, man. He is just clipping it. He's respectful. Have you seen the video of him sending a manila envelope to a young boy who's terminally ill? Have you seen that video? Because they don't talk about it. And he sends him a note and he says, thank you. And this kid is crying and his mom's saying, who sent you that? And he can't even speak. He's crying so hard. He goes, the president, Donald Trump sent me a note. This guy is exactly where he's supposed to be. God's hand is on him. And they're going to lie, steal, cheat. All I'm saying is when he gets elected, put him in a bunker somewhere until Inauguration Day.
Just got about a minute, Eric.
Yeah, I don't look social media though, and I mean that's the game. It's unfortunate as it is. People make stuff up.
Yeah,
and it sounds like of course people make stuff up. I think you need to understand just how gullible people are. People, everybody should know is confirmation bias. It is a thing, and so many people have it, in which they analyze information differently than what someone objective does it. As long as it reaches the conclusion that they want, they'll believe it. So that post goes up. It maybe hypes up, unfortunately, a lot of
what I want to hear.
Yeah, it's telling you what you want to hear. Oh, they'll share it around and have a lot of people hyped up, believe it, and they won't even verify. So it'll never get to that point to where they see ABC or anything or watch this show, even for that matter. They're going to run with it and they'll talk to their unfortunate colleagues about the same thing.
Yeah, you're right. All right. We got to take a quick break. Gentlemen, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Up next, I am going to talk to an old friend about a new project that he has. First, I want to thank our sponsor, Patriot Mobile. So look, Patriot Mobile is there for those of you who are tired of giving your money, your hard-earned money that you work very hard for, to companies that hate you. Patriot Mobile offers mobile service on all 3 major platforms, major networks. So you're not going to be losing any sort of good coverage or anything like that. And they are on the front lines fighting for the First and Second Amendments. They're on the front lines with Jaco Booyens at the border.
They are 100%. Many, many times. Going back there right after the election, have literally stood in a river, rescuing children, feeding Texas Border Patrol, law enforcement, taking care of families of Border Patrol that have lost family members.
So you guys, they truly are believers. They are great patriots. Go check them out. The chances are you're probably going to actually save money by switching to them anyway. And you know that you are supporting a company that supports you. You can go to patriotmobile.com/Sarah. You can get a free month right now when you use the offer code Sarah. That is patriotmobile.com/Sarah. Well, I know a lot has happened since Hurricane Helene, specifically Hurricane Milton coming right after that. But there's been a lot that's happened. And I think that a lot of people have forgotten that they're still devastated over there in North Carolina. And my friend Graham Allen, of course, the host of the Dear America podcast, he actually went down on the ground in North Carolina and they did a documentary. I want to play the trailer for that. Watch.
Hurricane Helene.
On Helene.
It's Hurricane Helene. Helene.
Helene. It is now a Category 4.
80 million people have been warned.
It'll be devastating out there.
And we're going to see extreme flooding and flash flooding as far north as Asheville, North Carolina by tomorrow.
We're having to call airports ahead of time to make sure that FEMA's not there trying to seize supplies.
Where in the world is any kind of person that this is what they're supposed to do?
How about FEMA representation?
I'm not saying it seems so. I'm not saying it seems so.
Did FEMA do this on purpose? Is FEMA trying to do something in North Carolina? That's a question you're going to have to answer for yourself.
I want to welcome to the show my old friend, Graham Allen himself. Hey, Graham, it's been a while.
It's been a while. What's going on? I love the set.
Yeah, thank you. It's much more my style with the pink, don't you think?
Yes. Yes. Well, my sign kind of looks like it's pink. I don't know why that is, but it's not supposed to be. But
that's funny. A little bit on the side there. I get it. Red, white, and blue. I get it.
Yeah.
So tell me I want people to go and watch the documentary, Graham, but tell me generally what you guys found when you went down there to film this documentary.
Yeah, so it's weird to be coming on because, we filmed a documentary and it was kind of one of those things. We actually got a phone call from the helo operations that are running out of Anderson, South Carolina, that are flying supplies back and forth into the hardest hit areas of North Carolina. And the phone call was pretty much like, hey, I know so-and-so that knows so-and-so that put me in touch with you. There's some stuff going on here that we can't get anyone to pay attention to. We were told by these people that they had reached out to Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, everyone, and every single one of them turned them down. And when I asked why, they said, well, they told them it was a liability issue. And you know me, I was like, helicopters, why not? I'm in. Let's do this thing. And it really was something that happened within about a 12-hour period. We got a phone call. We smuggled my producer on a plane. I'm not allowed to give too much stuff away because they were picking up supplies from Tampa to bring here to head into North Carolina. So what we found was we looked high, low, all over the place. And the argument can probably be made that, FEMA is in Asheville, North Carolina. But what a lot of people don't understand is places like Girton. There's actually a place called Bat Cave, North Carolina, Swannanoa, North Carolina, and then, in my opinion, the worst hit place. You saw the volunteer fire chief in that video that said that he hadn't seen a single soul. Pensacola, North Carolina, was the worst hit, in my opinion. The only way I can describe it, Sarah, is it looked. I mean, I've been to the war, and it looked like a nuclear bomb had gone off in this place. And we had to be escorted in. You couldn't just get in. Like you had to know code words to get past local police. And then it's a harrowing drive. They tell you straight up, like you need to have a 4x4 utility vehicle, nothing bigger than like a Jeep or a mid-sized truck, because you realize that you're driving on what looks like a really skinny road on top of this cliff in this mountain, except then you see the yellow lines painted and you realize, oh crap, this is just half of the road.
Oh gosh.
And the road is literally just gone. We asked many people, and many people had not seen FEMA at all, or if they had, it had been one representative that was typically a female, which is odd. FEMA normally travels in two to go to these places. And when FEMA did get there, when we filmed, it was day 12. It's day 18 or so now, but it was day 12, and these people had not seen a FEMA rep yet. I think 48 hours later, they saw one FEMA rep come by, and the FEMA rep came to this camp that these charities and these volunteers had created. And FEMA's only thing was, this table is dirty. You guys need to clean this. And
you're kidding.
No. And then the story that we weren't allowed to air because they asked us not to, and I won't say who it was, they said that they threw some paper towels and some cleaning stuff to the FEMA people and was like, well, you can clean it. And then FEMA left. And then they never came back. Here's the more interesting thing, Sarah. The day before we're ready to launch this video, we saw PolitiFact, which is by far the worst of the fact-checking organizations, put out this slew of all-encompassing fact checks that basically made it to where if you say anything other than FEMA is awesome, Biden-Harris administration did a great job, the governor of North Carolina is doing amazing. If you say anything, they're going to strike you. They're going to take the footage down, and or they're going to diminish your reach on your account to be able to do it. So we were kind of forced in this weird situation, and I kind of used the fact check against them. I posted an IG reel with the fact check behind me on a green screen. I was like, hey guys, according to PolitiFact, FEMA's doing an amazing job. According to PolitiFact, Biden-Harris administration is doing a great job. So you definitely shouldn't go watch this documentary that we did to, get any sort of idea that maybe that's not true. And we actually had to create a YouTube channel the day of to put the documentary on because we were just unsure of what they were going to do. For some reason, big government, FEMA, do not want you to see what is going on. And one final thing, and then I'll shut up and I'll let you go, is while we were filming, Hurricane Milton hit Florida. And we actually talk about it in the documentary that it's crazy that within 2 days, Fox News was reporting that FEMA had taken over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Stadium and had this huge HQ operation going on and all this other kind of stuff. But yet 12 days into Hurricane Helene in North Carolina, there was nothing. And if there was anything, it was one representative coming in telling these volunteers what they were doing wrong. And so something is going on. For some reason, they don't want the information out on what's going on in North Carolina.
Can you speculate at all? Can I make you speculate at all as to why that is? Is it because Tampa is a little more friendly to Kamala? I mean, I don't get it.
I won't. I'll tell you I'll tell you something that we saw, and I think that we'll let it go.
Okay.
Every single home that we saw decimated, and it was so crazy. If you lived on this side of the river, you were okay. If you lived on that side of the river, I mean, we spoke to people that said they watched 5 of their friends and 5 houses just wash away in front of them as they watched because they were on the other side. Every single home that we went to in Pensacola and Bat Cave and all of these places had Trump signs in their yard. Every single one. I did not see one Kamala sign. I did not see anything. And so my speculation would be that I think that it can't be ignored, this horrendous FEMA failure. Yeah. And it makes you wonder who benefits more from tens of thousands of people not being able to vote in North Carolina. And more specifically, they're not thinking about voting because there are people who can't get to their homes. Bridges are collapsed and there's homes in the mountain. And we're having to load up generators and go in side-by-sides. And they got us military guys together and we're having to grid coordinates and figure out how to get to these people's homes. And These people aren't concerned about voting. Right. These people are concerned about these things and who benefits from that. It really does make you wonder.
Yeah, I totally agree. All right, tell everyone where they can go watch this documentary.
Yeah, so you can just on YouTube, you can go to Dear America Originals. It's a new thing that we're adding here. We're going to start doing these documentaries more often, but you can look at Dear America Originals on YouTube, and you can see the documentary for yourself and come to your own conclusions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Graham. I'm proud to know you.
Same here, Sarah. Thanks.
All right, talk soon. See ya.
Yeah.
All right, and with that, we will be right back. Well, Kamala Harris wants Donald Trump's medical records, and he tweeted out, well, he posted on Truth Social, he said, as to her completely desperate request for my medical statements, she is dying to see my cholesterol, which is 180. I have already provided them many times, including quite recently, and they were flawless. However, I have just seen Kamala's report, and it is not good. According to her doctor's report, she suffers from urticaria, defined as a rash of round red welts on the skin that itch intensely, sometimes with dangerous swelling. She also has allergic rhinitis and allergic conjunctivitis, a very messy and dangerous situation. These are deeply serious conditions that clearly impact her functioning. Maybe that's why she can't even answer the simplest of questions from 60 Minutes.